Good morning, people. This is Daily Yab number 13, I think. I failed one for the first time yesterday. Well, anyway, today I want to talk about something a bit more personal, which is the fact that I feel really disconnected from my culture. So, for some context, I'm Chilean. I was born and raised in Santiago, which is the capital, and now I'm living in a small town in the south of Chile, in Pucón. And growing up, this wasn't really like a problem, because you're so surrounded by your surroundings, duh. And you go to the parties, right? I'm talking about like national parties, and the things that they show on the TV, and you're like aware of who the famous people are, and so. But what happened, and I feel like this is true for so much more people now, is the fact that I had access to the internet since I was really young. I mean, the computer was crappy, and back in those days, you didn't have anything like Instagram or Facebook. Like none of that existed. There was a point where there wasn't even YouTube, which is crazy to think about, honestly. But anyway, ever since I started, getting more and more into that, and also the video games, the video games. Like now that I realize, I did a video a couple daily apps ago about Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3, and how that like shows you so much of another culture that's not yours, right? Because of course skates were not like a thing here. This comes from like another place when you have like these rock bands or like punk bands, or you have rappers or like this sort of like dress codes. And one thing that a lot of like Americans don't realize is that their culture is exported pretty heavily, like pretty heavily. So anyway, since I was like young, I had like access to these things, but that was at that point like mostly my own culture, like Chilean culture, everything Spanish and so. But as I aged, and I want to say specifically around the time that I actually learned more and more English, which I want to say was like around 2010, I was like 13, maybe like a little bit younger, 12. And I started to watch heavily like things on the internet. That's when I started to, I don't know, I feel like get this drift or maybe this separation from what my peers were talking about and interested in and what I was into. I'm not saying this like to brag, like I don't want to give off the thing of like, ooh, I'm so cool that I like different things. No, it's not that. It's just like you start notice, you start notice that the things that you think that are cooler, the things that you know about and have like, I don't know, like the latest details, they were not things that your peers shared. Specifically, at least for me, I saw that when it came to like what they watch on TV. I stopped watching TV. Maybe, of course, cartoons, right? But we all watch cartoons when we were younger. But, TV, more like reality shows or like, well, the news, yeah, it's still the news. But then, like knowing about who the famous people are or the famous artist, that was one of the main shifts that I realized. It was like, I started getting more into my like late teens. I was starting to like lose more and more track of what the current landscape was. Here in Chile, specifically, what started taking on was reggaeton, which probably, like Americans don't know about, but it's like the main thing here. It's like a trap before trap. A little bit better, in my opinion. And I didn't really like it at that time. Well, I still don't like it that much, but a couple songs are really good. And I don't know, it's weird because suddenly, like, the songs that a lot of people make them, like, remember certain times, they just don't click for you. For me, it was like a lot of, once again, like music from the US, maybe sometimes from Europe. And also the humor, and slowly I feel like it increased a lot more in university. The majority of the content that I consume is in English. I'm talking in English right now, like I have an English speaking channel, I would say. And it feels weird. It feels weird, at least to me it feels weird. Because once again, like I live in Chile, like when I go to the store I have to speak in Spanish, and most of the people I interact with are from here. But sometimes, into conversations, like it will randomly appear like, oh, and like this guy, and they mention like a name, and I'm like, who is that person? And they're like, come on, how are you not gonna know who like this guy is? Like, don't you watch TV? And like the answer is, well, no, actually I don't. And also like news and like politics and things like that. I'm super like unaware of the things that are happening right now in my culture. But I'm super aware of like things that are happening like in the world. So yeah, it's like once again, it's like a weird contrast. Damn, this dog. Better walk fast. And damn it. Well, talk about raw footage. And now the bird. Oh my god, this is incredible. So I'm not sure how the audio quality is right now. Probably pretty shitty, but you know, I want this to be pretty real. But that's the bird. God damn it. So anyway, what was I talking about? Well, yeah, and like once again, this is not to say like, oh, poor me. Like honestly, weirdly enough, it doesn't affect you as much as you might think. But you notice, you know, like at least I notice. I notice that the more the time passes, the less aware I am of like things happening in Chile and you know popular things, you know, and like pop culture and like the artists and who's the new thing right now. Like I just don't. Yeah. I don't know. And once again, like, well, there's a reason why these series are called Daily Up. There's nothing that I want to say about this, you know. Once again, it's just like maybe mentioning that I noticed that it increases with time. And okay, well, if I can give it like an interesting twist, this is my experience, you know. Like I've shared it from me living here in Chile, you know, and specifically consuming a lot of like American culture. But I feel like this happens to more and more people as time passes. Like I'm pretty sure that there's some people listening to me right now, if there are any, but that they think like, yeah, that kind of happens to me, you know. Like I feel like the local stuff is not like as relevant, or like I'm more concerned about like other stuff or like more other cultures. For example, here in Chile, specifically, we have like a huge crush on Japanese culture. There's a lot of like otakus, right? Or people that basically really like anime and Japanese culture in general. And I feel like I've heard from like younger people, like, oh man, I wish I didn't live in this society, because they think that the other society would be better. Now it might be worse. You know, who knows? You only see the good part when you're not in there. But yeah, it's an interesting global phenomenon. Like more and more people are feeling this way that I am feeling right now. And I guess like it's like a slow burn, because honestly, lose your sense of belonging to a place, of like feeling connected and identified with it. It's not something that's going to cause you any harm.